Right, so this is part 2 of the CB1000. Is the Dynojet system working? Yes. So what was wrong? The ground wire wasn't connected. So this wire here was actually tucked under the battery. So I have had a few conversations with the customer, and he kept saying, check the ground wire is connected. So I was like, well, there isn't a ground wire. You know, I looked along this loom here, and the wire is actually sort of pops out here. So I didn't see this. So the wire's part of the loom here. So I didn't spot that because it was basically resting down there. The wire went under. So it's all working now. In the previous video you'll have seen that we weren't getting a signal from this unit. The injectors weren't firing. And at the time I also hooked up to the software. You know, you can download the software. It's fairly easy to use. So I was able to put a new map onto it, and then another map, you know, just to try a few things out. Didn't make any difference, of course, and also the software didn't say there was any problems either. So there was no problems with the, you know, like on the software it said there's no issues, no errors. You'd think something like a ground wire would be a problem. But what I did notice was that the RPM wasn't shown on the software. So, and then when we've connected that back up, the RPM has come back. So this is just going to be a short one, but basically I've reconnected it and I've took it around the block. It's running fine. So there was an issue with the fuel pump wiring. So it's got one of these type of connectors on the fuel pump wiring, and you know how these wires get clicked into each of the plugs. Well, one of the wires was sort of loose. So I can only assume that when he broke down at the petrol station, this wire was not contacting properly, and he was getting an intermittent sort of contact. And then obviously they've done a bit of work at the petrol station, and by some miracle it's worked and he's got home. And then obviously, you know, I've said to him, you know, this ground wire was obviously disconnected at some point, because if you watch the previous videos, there's a part of the video where you can actually see the ground wire attached to the battery. I mean, it makes complete sense to me that, yeah, there was no issues last time I was there. So he's had this breakdown, and it could have been just that wire on the fuel pump harness, but who's to say. I've took it for an hour's test ride, no issues at all, starts up every time. So he's coming to get it tonight. So that's just it, finished, fixed. Okay guys, so I'm not sure what the last clip was. Basically put the ground wire on for the power commander, started the bike up, took it for a test ride, probably went about half an hour, started it up, you know, as I'm riding around, I'm stopping, starting it, stopping, starting it. I started it maybe 4 or 5 times, contacted the customer, it's ready to collect, came, took it home, and then he sent me a message saying it won't start. And this is on the weekend, so he sent me a video clip of it. I'll insert that video clip in now. So in the clip you see he's trying to start it. The first time it wasn't cranking long enough, I don't think, and then the second or third time it did start for a few seconds, turned it off and then tried a couple more times. So anyway, I won't say anything about that. I think from that point on I just said to the customer, you know, I'll come and get it and I'll give it a week this time to see if it plays up. Obviously I don't want to spend forever testing this bike, but I gave it half an hour of a test ride. It didn't falter once, it started up every time, so there's obviously something more at play. Now he did say that the engine warning light had come on and was flashing over the weekend as well, and so we're going to have a look at this again and see if there's something more at play. Now I've got my suspicions on possibly the map sensor being disconnected, the vacuum pipe, because that came off several times. So we'll check that, but we'll see if we can start it. I'm just going to get ready to start it, and I'm going to get ready with the battery if we need it, so that we can give it plenty of cranking. I'll just explain why. So in some cases, if you try starting one of these, not always, but when you try and start a bike, you can sometimes flood it. It's a 2012. Now they shouldn't be too bad, but you can get into a situation where you're just putting too much fuel in and it won't start regardless. So you don't want to crank it and crank it and crank it basically. So we'll see if it starts. I've got a funny feeling that it won't. I'm just checking this wire, so it has been pinched down here, so we'll have to double check this is all working again. Fuel pump's on. No faults, no fault codes found. Oh, what's this? So it's got, I'm not sure if these were there last time. Intake air pressure sensor. Now that's the map sensor basically. Now I have had that on, I have had it started and running with that disconnected. Intake manifold throttle potentiometer open circuit. Now I have had that off as well. So, and then cylinder 1 magnetic injector. Didn't know they had magnetic injectors. So there's nothing there that's live. So we're going to have to reset these and start the bike, if it starts, and see what comes up while it's running. Now, what else? There's nothing new really there, unfortunately. So just make sure they all go green, and we'll start it, I think. Yeah, it's all green, so I'm going to start it. Intake air pressure sensor faulty. Now it doesn't give a number on that one. It says 2-1, which means 2-1. I don't know. I don't think it's got more than one. But let's find out. I'll have a look and see where the intake air pressure sensor. Yeah, it's got to be a map sensor. Then we've got a branch of vacuum pipes. Okay. You know what it could be? Just thinking aloud here. Maybe one of the vacuum lines is off. So let's have a look for that, I think. Now, probably the easiest way to do that is just to squirt some brake cleaner in that area, and if the revs go up, that's it. Right, let's have a look. So I've reconnected the pipes and I've put some of these clamps on to help mitigate any accidental moving. So the vacuum line on the number 2 cylinder was off, and I feel like it might have been my doing that did that, because when the customer picked up his bike, I said to him, if you ever get an engine management light on, just check these hoses are connected, and I showed him that this one actually comes off quite easily. So obviously I should have just left it. So it's possible that that one, I mean, I haven't touched that one myself when I was doing any work on this bike, but it's possible that that one was just hanging on by a thread and it came off. So I put these little really vicious little clamps on. They're really tight, so it's hard to pull it off, you know, without needing some force. Anyway, the one on number 3, I can't even pull it off, it's that tight, so it's obviously stuck on from heat or whatever. The map sensor's also got one on, but you can't really see it, it's up there. Oh, you can see it actually. So there's the clamp for the map sensor, so that's on. So, and I've rerouted a little bit of this hose as well, so there was some hose that was possibly pushing on it on the map sensor, but it's so tight in there you can barely get your hand in. Anyway, the map sensor is not faulty, it's just never got the full vacuum, if you know what I mean. So I think that might explain why it didn't start for him when he got home, because he probably pulled up and not realised that the engine management light was flickering, or it didn't flicker until he tried to start it. I don't know, not sure which way around it was. Anyway, I said to him, I'm going to keep the bike for a week. Basically, I'm just going to, at the end of the day, I'm just going to take it out for a quick run and you know, see if anything comes up. Can't really do much more than that. I mean, it's clearly nothing obvious at the moment, but I just want to rule out everything that could potentially come up.